Hello, beautiful people. Thank you so much for coming to watch this YouTube video. My name is Alejandra. This is Wildflowers Within, and I'm super grateful to have you here. I'm a little under the weather, so I feel my energy just a little. My tank isn't at 100%, but I hope to do this new moon solar eclipse in Aquarius justice because holy moly, the world is changing. So, before we get into the details around that, I wanted to just say that if you are here watching this channel, I believe you are an individual that came with a sole purpose of being here for the great change, for the new earth emerging, and by wanting to discover more and decipher more what the planets are telling all of us. It's you aligning to figure out your path. So I love that you're here. If you're a woman and want to do breathwork ceremonies, new moon and full moons, check out the Lunar Alchemy Circle, the link below. I'd love to have you there. All right. So let us begin. I think before I even speak about the new moon, I want to speak first about what eclipses are, and then Saturn and Neptune, the ruler, Saturn, the ruler of this new moon, sitting at 0 degrees Aries, and then go into the age of Aquarius. So let's talk about eclipses. Eclipses are like the Super Bowls of new moons and full moons. That's all you need to know. They are the game. It is the World Cup. I don't know how many other sports references I can possibly give. The Olympics. Like, it's a big deal. Why? Because the sun and moon are coming together at maximum potency. And it has to do with the ecliptic, the path of the sun, the path that the sun travels on, and that the new moon is coming into conjunction with the sun on the ecliptic at either her new moon or full moon phase. And what it does is it is a time of great transformation and acceleration. You are going to start to see things speed up very quickly. And in this, from the 2 weeks from this new moon to full moon, I would expect to see dramatic changing of events, world events, things that are going to destabilize us. And if we're seeing that out in the world, then know that there's an opportunity, what's outside also is taking place within our inner world. And so just know that this time is very karmic. There is a sense of reckoning. There's a sense of destiny because it includes the nodes of the moon, right? And the moon is associated with fortune. So if the moon is now at a Super Bowl, it's like, the teams that were destined to be there, part of your life story was destined for this moment. And depending on what you've been living and how you've been living, either in alignment with your truth or out of alignment, eclipses come to shake things up, to destabilize them, and hopefully, essentially, to place you back on your path. And being back on your path may not be exactly what you had hoped for, but I tend to believe that it is for the best. And with time, we will usually discover why. So that's my prayer, at least around eclipse season. And I would also just, in terms of like taking care of your nervous system, being able to sit in stillness, if prayer is your thing, or if spending time in nature, just being with the people you love, having a lot of calmness around you. Because if you think energetically, it's like an earthquake going on. So how can we be calm inside to support us as we navigate these next 2 weeks from new moon to full moon? All right, so that's it. This is a out of sign eclipse. So this is taking place not in the same house. Aquarius is not where the nodes are sitting right now, but so it's an out of sign eclipse. And the ruler of Aquarius is Saturn. So you always want to look where the ruler of a planet is to see, what's going on. And it's like a once in a lifetime sort of transit that's taking place right now. We've never seen this before in our lives. I don't think it's taken place for about like 2,000 years, where Saturn and Neptune have just ingressed into the sign of Aries, and they are sitting at the 0 degree point. Now, why is this significant? 0 degrees Aries is the point of inception. right? It's the beginning, it's the spark that everything kicks off, the entire zodiac. And it's a very powerful place to set an intention, because if you think, it's like the very first step. What's that? The journey of a thousand steps. What is the thing? I can't remember it right now. The journey of a thousand steps takes place with one. Oh my God. I need to put like a laughing emoji right now. I can't remember it. I will find it and maybe write it in the comments. So I'm still hooked on this journey of a thousand steps thing. All right, I'm just gonna let that go. All right, I had to pause and I had to Google it because I did not want to butcher it. And it is: a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Thank you, Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu. That was all right. I needed to do that. The Virgo in me was like, please get this quote right. All right, so that is essentially where we're at. This is the journey of 1,000 miles. This is a journey around the entire zodiac wheel, and it starts with this first step. And why is this significant? You know, Aries loves to initiate things, right? It is the great initiator, with courage, with bravery. It's the frontline infantry. And the fact that you have Saturn and Neptune coming together in this conjunction, there's so many different ways you can sort of turn this gem and look for symbolism. And one of them you can see as, you know, the fall of the old world order. And why do you say that? Well, Saturn represents what's old, right? Saturn is in its fall in Aries. Saturn can represent toxic masculinity, you know? And I'm not saying that like means within yourself, but you know, Saturn can represent the old matrix, the old paradigm we've been living in. And with Neptune, you think about transcendence. Essentially, that is what Neptune is for. Neptune wants to transcend. Neptune wants to merge, you know, experience a oneness into something that we are all a part of, which essentially is a dissolving of sorts. And there's going to be, you know, Chris Brennan from Mundane Astrology, he calls this signature reality distortion, where you don't really know, because Saturn relates to the concrete and, you know, setting boundaries and bringing, you know, the 3D really into existence. Neptune is there kind of like, well, I'm not going to let you find where those boundaries are. Or something is revealed and you don't know if it's true. Right? Neptune is also can be an illusion. Neptune can be the mirage that you see in the desert, and you think there's going to be some sort of like oasis, and then you keep looking and, you know, nothing ever comes from it. Or it could actually be, you know, some amazing destination that's ahead. So at the height of this, what we're seeing, you can just look at it in terms of social media, AI, deep fakes, you know, what is really going on? What truth is being told? What is being silenced? You know, and just know that as you look around, that could be something that's coming up very strongly. And so to be able to really understand, like, all right, we are at the start of something new, and it is not clear at all what is taking place. You know, yes, I truly believe that things that seemed unmovable are now going to be shifting. Saturn, Neptune, in previous history, the fall of the Berlin Wall, which I actually happened to be a part of. I remember going and getting like a pick and like a hammer and being able to chisel pieces of it. We actually have a piece at my parents' house. And, you know, it's associated also at the time of the fall of apartheid in South Africa. You know, so when you think of like structures and systems in place that seemed pretty set, you know, all of a sudden they begin to crumble. So where in your life does it seem that something has been completely immovable or super, super fixed? And it could potentially be a lot to belief systems, right? Because this new moon seed is taking place in Aquarius, an air sign. So what is taking place that could suddenly be shifting, suddenly be breaking up, you know? Or maybe you're seeing it in your relationships, you know, with the closest people. Maybe you're seeing it in your family. someone who's like been single forever, finally like getting married, or someone who would never think, the relationship would end. All of a sudden it's ending. Eclipses bring major endings and major beginnings, and really important to just ride it with grace. So I think of a lot of this when Neptune and Saturn, I also think of the spiritual warrior. Neptune and Saturn coming together could be the very passionate individual that wants to vocalize and to fight for something, and stand in this space of prayer and of holding this vision for the world. That could be very much like a Joan of Arc being activated right at this time, or like a messianic character, a Jesus sort of figure. And we have to be careful. There's also, with Saturn, and because Saturn is in its fall, it doesn't mean that it's going to be, all bad. A planet in its fall doesn't necessarily mean that things are bad, but it is contrary to the nature of that planet. So if Aries loves to be bold and charge through and be impulsive, that's absolutely opposite what Saturn is. Saturn is the slowest moving planet. Well, was in ancient astrology, it was the slowest moving planet. It sat on the outskirts. It observed. It was a master of time. It got to see the cosmic dance from a place of wisdom, but also from a place of, isolation. And so with Saturn now in Aries, there could be a lot of wisdom that wants to be built, but it's going to be like start and stop, right? The brake pedal is going to come on as soon as you think the gas pedal is going, right? There could be a lot of stop and start. So take patience, have a lot of patience, and know that there could be an activation within you, a spiritual warrior within you, or you're going to see the community of people that are now coming into your life. But it's really about, if a false matrix is falling, then where is your place in this new world order? And so that's what really brings me to the Aquarius energy. And I think of belonging, I think of attuning to, and I wanted to give this example to show you how powerful and significant it is that Pluto is now in Aquarius. When I think of, if Pluto is also this disruptor in the sense that it comes from just underneath with primal force energy, and it can destroy, like a volcano, lava just destroying, but it's trying to give a rebirth to something. And the internet and social media, especially with the now emergence of AI, I think when OpenAI, the company, first released like chat, it was during the first ingress of Pluto into Aquarius. And I thought it's a really good visual example for you to understand how Pluto can work behind the scenes and be so powerful, but you don't understand it. And when I think of a good example, I think of the algorithm to your social media, Instagram, Facebook, what you're seeing. You have no idea. No one really knows the mysteries of like, how do I boost this? Or how do I change my algorithm? Or how do I get more views? Or how do I get this? How do I get that? It's all sort of secret. It's all sort of behind, and people are trying to crack the code and, figure it out. But what that shows is what you get fed from what you search or what you type in, and then all of a sudden the feedback that you are receiving of, oh, so this person is, I remember one of my friends, she's like, I just see a bunch of laughing chihuahuas. They're just doing the funniest stuff. And she like cracks up laughing, right? That is such a unique, special vibration, right? It's someone who doesn't want to see bad news or like scary news. It's someone who just wants to be enwrapped in happiness. And like, there's probably a lot of AI fake chihuahua stuff on there, but it's feeding what she's attuning to, right? We're attuning to something. If someone who is more politically active, I see a lot of different things. But that sort of like, all of a sudden you start getting fed certain things. That's kind of like the power of what Pluto is in Aquarius. Aquarius is about being in community, right? Aquarius is a frequency. My astrology teacher used to call it the mind of God, where the architecture and the blueprints of what we are going to be birthing, making concrete, will eventually come into the world, like the schematics. And think of it in terms of like, you're part of a web, and you're vibing in a certain way. You're grooving, you're dancing, you're singing, you're doing whatever in your own unique way. That is either going to attract more of the same towards you, or it is going to, maybe you're a rebel, right? Which is also an Aquarian signature. Maybe you're breaking the mold and going off and just doing your own thing so that other people can find you and other people can start grooving with you, and then you're creating something, but we're all interconnected. That's what this new age of Aquarius is teaching us. And when I think of the new earth and when I think of where we're truly headed, it's no longer about, at least for me, the guru sitting in front of, the group leading. That is old paradigm, and maybe that could be the Saturn Neptune signature in Aries. It's like, dude, this old decrepit dude, Neptune's going to come around, like, we're ending that. We're going to break through that. We're going to see something new, because what really is taking place is it's about harmonizing, right? And bringing back into alignment the feminine and the masculine, right? It's about bringing the yin and yang into balance. And we only do that in society by sitting in circle with one another, which is one of the most ancient technologies we have had throughout all of history, is to sit in sacred circle, community sharing, feeling the oneness and interconnectedness, and yet at the same time knowing that we individually play a major role for what is going to be birthed now in this new era. So where Aquarius is sitting in your chart, this new moon, this eclipse is aspecting, it's in a square to Uranus, who's in a fixed sign of Taurus, right? Taurus is the earth, right? You can't get more earthy based than Taurus, like what we desire, our values, our passions, how we like to surround, ourselves. And this, what we love, right? It's ruled by Venus. This new moon in a square to Uranus is going to disrupt. It's showing you that something inside, wherever Aquarius sits in your chart, is disrupting itself, is drastically changing and reprogramming, right? This is, if the fall of something is happening, then a reprogramming is needed. Something is breaking through. And where is your part in all of it? What will be your emerging note, right? Your own signature note of frequency as we transition into this new earth. So I hope that helps. I would be very gentle with yourselves as these 2 weeks are happening. It can get very bumpy. If you would like to come to breath work, it's so good. It's always just so good to come and breathe and be in a space of sacred sisterhood and relax your nervous system and attune more, in a place of reverence to what the planets are doing right now. And I also just wanted to share one last thing. I am going to be leading a masterclass. I'm going to be giving a masterclass in today on the new moon on the 17th at night. So let me just share with you. It's on Eventbrite, and I'm going to link I'll link the Eventbrite so you can register for tickets. But it's called Beyond Survival, a new paradigm of healing sexual trauma on the new earth. This is definitely a part of my frequency. I feel it. I feel like I've been in training for it and understanding my experiences in a way that is going to break a spell. I call it the spell of what sexual assault does to the individual. And, that plays really well with the Saturn Neptune energies at this time. I think that the spell is here to be broken. So whatever spell we have been under as a society for eons, with this eclipse, it is the beginning. It's not immediately going to happen, right? Remember, anything like when you plant some sort of seed, it needs time, but it is a very powerful moment, and something now is seeding itself within us, within the world, within our consciousness, and I believe it is the breaking of one world into the other. So thank you so much for coming, for watching. I'll talk